And here she is less than 2 years after being baptized in the Jordan River, telling Kesha that she can summon UFOs and channel aliens.
The frequency of the city was just super amazing, and it was super easy to make contact. We had been meditating all week, and then it only took us 10 minutes before we looked up and we saw a ship at what looked like a Concorde plane, you know, those like black ones that look like triangles. Looked like that, but it had 2 red lights. And then at one point, the ship just separated into 2 different ships. Like, I can't explain it, but you're seeing it and you're just like, cool. So everyone else saw that? Yeah. All right. So what? And then you're just and then there's this surreal moment of like, so do we go inside? Like,
this New Age idea of being able to channel other beings is nothing new. It's in the book of 1 Samuel, where Saul goes to find a medium to speak to the dead. These New Age concepts have been creeping into the church for generations now, to the point where Demi Lovato claims to be a baptized Christian who can meditate and channel aliens. She's using her large platform to influence others into doing the same thing. This is exactly what Roger Morneau said that the Grand Master, or Satan's, plan was for the world.
Spirits, living spirits, will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxies. When the spirits will, through a trance medium, converse with influential people of the light.
Many testimonies of people who claim to have been abducted by aliens describe these alien beings as looking like perfect angelic beings with blonde hair and blue eyes, gray frog-like creatures, and reptilians. I don't think it's coincidence that the first original alien to come to Earth from the heavens appeared as a talking reptilian creature, giving New Age doctrines such as "you are God and you cannot die." This is the very same message that we hear given by these entities from testimonies of abductees.
When they see us worrying about things like death, they find it hilarious. And when they see us like running around like headless chickens, just to create money, just to keep ourselves alive, and they know it's all a big joke because you can't die anyway. And they say even if we did die, you can choose to come back from the death state.
Occultist Aleister Crowley was a self-professed wickedest man alive, and he drew a sketch of a demon that would often visit him. This demon introduced himself as Lamb, which is Tibetan for the Way, an exact counterfeit of the true Lamb of God, who is the way, the truth, and the life. Now, we can clearly see that these entities are not visitors from other planets as they claim to be, but are actually demons seducing the world with doctrines of devils. Many will be deceived and fall away from the faith and give heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, just as Demi Lovato. This idea that these aliens are actually demons in disguise is not just a Christian idea. Jacques Vallée, the author of a book called Messengers of Deception, said this in an interview.
In your books, particularly your most recent book, Messengers of Deception, which is many years old, you suggest that UFOs are deliberately trying to manipulate our subconscious mind to create a mythology in our culture about themselves, which is one of the reasons that they're both physical and concrete, yet very elusive at the same time. Do you still feel that way?
I think that from my own point of view, I'm going to be very disappointed if UFOs turn out to be nothing more than visitors from another planet, because I think they could be something much more interesting.
Something from another dimension, a space or time?
Here are objects, I think we have to call them objects, that are physical, that interact with the environment, that cause effects on the witnesses, on the psychology and the physiology of the witnesses, and leave traces on the ground, and yet are appear to be capable of manipulating time and space in ways that go beyond what our physics understands today.
Eddie Bravo, on a podcast with Joe Rogan, talks about William Cooper, the author of Behold a Pale Horse, and how while working with the military actually believed in aliens and UFOs because he saw them with his own eyes, but then began to wonder if he was being deceived.
William Cooper, he wrote Behold a Pale Horse. He wrote that book. He's like probably considered the Helio Gracie of conspiracy theories, William Cooper. He was in charge of putting together the documents for these top secret Office of Naval Intelligence meetings. He thought they're trying to get us to believe in aliens so they could fake an alien attack, so that'll usher in the New World Order. Because what happens if the aliens attack? We all unite. In all the movies, you see them in the movies like, oh, they're attacking, let's call China. We're all together, we all unite. That's the whole purpose of everything. William Cooper, he was the guy who he was like, aliens exist. I'm looking at these documents. They're having these meetings about this crash. He's got his own little private radio and then he's like, oh, these are setting me up. This is all. He goes, they're setting up a fake alien invasion. That's what they're doing.
Okay. Or could it be manipulated purposely by people who have the technology to simulate UFO sightings? And people say, well, of course not. Who would do a thing like that? Well, I would remind you that during the Watergate investigation, it was discovered that there was a plan originated in the White House to surface a submarine off the coast of Cuba and paint the second coming of Christ over the island of Cuba using holograms. Which is well within our technology today.
Tom DeLonge, former frontman for bands Blink-182 and Angels and Airwaves, has gotten security clearance with the CIA and permission to share information on the subject with the public.
Communication role, it makes more sense.
So they would give some information to you and you would get it out to people. And now why wouldn't they do it themselves? Because they wouldn't have the same platform?
They don't have
access to the same platform that you would have?
They don't have a way to make a movie, a book. They don't have a way to make documentaries. They don't have a way to go on a big show like this and communicate with young people. They don't do that. I don't believe that some of the events happened on accident. You know, I think that there's been a lot of events that are on purpose. Some have been for show, some have been for, there's a variety of reasons, but I think a lot of it is a control system that's really pushing humanity in a very specific direction.
Listen to this interesting statement he said in an interview on Coast to Coast AM.
But it can do all kinds of stuff. It seems to feed off of fear. It can be very dark and threatening at times. I remember laughing at people who would say, it's not aliens, it's demons. I couldn't laugh anymore. I'm not so sure about that.
There is a very, very strong link between what people think demons are from the Bible and other religions and the UFO phenomenon. And what you have is something that doesn't like man, period.
Carol Rosen was a partner and speaker for Wernher von Braun, who was a leading figure in the development of rocket technology in Nazi Germany. She said in his last years of life, he started admitting some interesting things to her.
When I was a corporate manager of Fairchild Industries in 1974 through 77, I met the late Dr. Wernher von Braun in early 74. Von Braun's purpose in life during the last years of his life, his dying years, was to educate the public and decision makers about why space-based weapons are a dumb, dangerous, destabilizing, too costly, unnecessary, unworkable, undesirable idea. The strategy that Wernher von Braun taught me was that first the Russians are going to be considered to be the enemy. In fact, when I met him in 74, they were the enemy, the identified enemy. We were told that they had killer satellites. We were told that they were coming to get us and control us, the dirty commies, that whole story. First, the Russians were the enemy against whom we're going to build space-based weapons. Then terrorists would be identified, and that was soon to follow. We heard a lot about terrorism. Then we were going to identify third world country crazies. We now call them nations of concern. But he said that would be the third enemy against whom we would be needing to build space-based weapons. And the next enemy was asteroids. Now at this point, he kind of chuckled the first time he said it. Asteroids, against asteroids we're going to build space-based weapons. So it was funny then. And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens. And all of it, he said, is a lie.
Lou